If you like the Young Turks podcast, I think you'll love a lot of the podcasts on the TYT network. Old School, it's one of my favorites, one of the favorites for a lot of the listeners. Please check that out, subscribe, share it. That makes a big difference, and give it a 5-star rating. Thank you. All right, welcome to the Young Turks. Cenk, Uygur, John, Iadarola with you guys. As always, big day in the news. Lots to talk about guns. I'm going to remind the right wing about the Second Amendment. They're going to cry. That's going to be fun. What do you mean the Second Amendment's on our side? Okay, it's probably because you've never read it. Okay,
it's long in their defense.
Yeah, it's a whole sentence.
It's like lines.
Yeah, There's a couple of commas in there. Okay. Anyways, all right, but I'm ready to get started because I'm amped up. You ready?
Oh, what, can I show the shirt? We got a new shirt today.
Yeah, goddamn right you can.
Okay, can we take this? I wrote the damn bill. I didn't make the damn shirt, but somebody did, and thank you. And it's now available.
Yeah, shop.
We'll have more details on who made it.
ShopTYT.com. I love that shirt. We got more of those coming up.
One of the best moments of the first night.
Yes, I wrote the damn bill. I love it. Okay, to this day, when I wear my Bernie So Punk shirt, people are like, yeah, yeah. Oh, that's right. Everyone's wearing it right now. Our stage manager.
Okay. Mine. I have two. They're aging.
Yeah. Well,
soon, baby blue will be gone. Okay. You want to jump into the news?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, why don't we do that? Because there's a lot going on.
Okay, and my guests are going to relate to this. All right, ready? Here we go. Justice is coming. 3 more candidates announced from the Justice Democrats. So some are familiar if you were paying attention last time around, and some are new. So Kara Eastman in Nebraska is back. She came within 2 points of defeating a Republican, Don Bacon, in Nebraska's 2nd district. Yes, you heard that right. She came within 2 points of beating a Republican in Nebraska. And so now she's back and she's gonna finish the job. Don Bacon, of course, votes with Donald Trump an overwhelming majority of the time. He's a Republican, takes almost all of his money from big donors. Of course, there's no grassroots support on the Republican side in terms of finances. They don't need them. They're just like, oh, give me huge checks and I'll do whatever you want. What I love about Kara is that not only is she great at knowing her district and being electable, and she's this close to taking out Don Bacon, and she, like I said, she's going to do it this time. But also, she's deeply progressive, and she's like, no, I'm not going to mitigate my message because it's Nebraska. We have a winning message. I'm going to get the folks here higher wages. I'm going to get them health care, and I'm actually going to represent them. And of course, all Justice Democrats are uncorrupted. No corporate PAC money at all, as you can see with AOC and the others in Congress, that has freed them to be strong and actually represent their voters. So I love that Kara Eastman's been endorsed again by Justice Democrats. Now, a new face for one of the most important races in the country, arguably the most important. Alex Morse is going to take on Richard Neal. Now, Alex is the mayor of Holyoke. He won that job at the age of 22.
That's crazy.
He's only 30 years old right now. That's 1 year older than Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I'm going to interview him later tonight on the Young Turks. Check that out as well. And Alex has done amazing things with Holyoke. Amazing, okay? So we'll get to that. But Richard Neal, his Democratic incumbent in that seat, is the head of the House Ways and Means Committee. That is the most powerful committee in the House of Representatives. One of the most important establishment Democrats. If Richard Neal goes down, it will be an earthquake. If you remember, I said that once before in 2016. I said if Crowley went down, it would be an earthquake, and it turned out it was, of course. And I think-
Who beat him?
She has 3 letters.
A lot of races.
Yeah, okay. I believe it was A, then an O, and then a C. Okay.
No, don't know.
And then Richard Neal is against Green New Deal, against Medicare for All. And since he's the head of the House Ways and Means Committee, they control the budget. He can block all progressive legislation and does. But it gets worse than that. Richard Neal, and I'm gonna tell you how you're gonna donate to these uncorrupted candidates in a second. Richard Neal, in fact, there you go. That's one way to do it. Okay, down below. Richard Neal has the ability to ask for Trump's tax returns. First of all, he can ask for them on a federal level. He waited 6 months to ask for them. Why? Nobody knows. Just, hey, drag it out a little bit so that maybe Trump can skate before the elections. Okay, and then now New York has passed a law saying, yeah, no, here's Trump's tax returns. But there's only one person who can ask for them. That's the head of the House Ways and Means Committee. That's Richard Neal. This is not about the courts. The federal taxes are in the courts, and Trump is trying to block it. We could have Trump's taxes right now, today. But Richard Neal, a so-called Democrat, says, no, I'm gonna protect Donald Trump. I'm in the Donald Trump protection racket business. That's because he's ordered by Nancy Pelosi to protect Donald Trump. So I can't wait to beat Richard Neal. If you live in Massachusetts, you live in that Massachusetts 1st District. It's a progressive district. Why do you have a Trump defending, Trump supporting Richard Neal as your congressman? Sitting there doing nothing but blocking progressive priorities and helping Donald Trump. Elect Alex Morse. It's a giant election. You gotta help him do that. Super proud to have him as a Just Democrat. Obviously means no corporate PAC money uncorrupted. Last one, Morgan Harper in Ohio's 3rd District. I'm not sure she's got enough of an education though, having gone to Tufts, Princeton, and Stanford. Worked at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau under, well, obviously that bureau is set up by Elizabeth Warren, then run by Richard Cordray. So here comes Warren's army, Just Democrat, running against Joyce Beatty. She's in the House Financial Service Committee, Democratic incumbent that has taken in 4 terms, just 4 terms. How much money from the finance industry? $2 million. Morgan Harper is clean, will not take any money from the finance industry. So you have your choices. Morgan's an incredible candidate. We'll have all of them on the Young Turks. Now, look, guys, for this new crop of candidates that I just mentioned, you got to go to jdems.us/big news, and it is big news. So you knock out a Republican in Nebraska, and you shut all the mainstream media about, progressives don't know how to win in the middle of the country. By the way, a Democrat lost to that Republican before. A corporate Democrat lost to him. And even though Carr was so close and it's so obvious that she's the person to support, Democratic Party now is thinking about getting a candidate against Carr Eastman. They're unbelievable. They're unbelievable.
File that under unity.
Yeah, exactly. And also file it under corruption. Because why would they run a candidate against Carr Eastman in a primary? They're like, well, she's not corrupt. So how would we control her? Exactly. They can't control Morgan Harper, Alex Morse, Carr Eastman, or any of the Just Democrats on it now. So jdems.us/big news. Let's do it right now. Because if they're not taking corporate PAC money, all they got is you guys. And so look, journalists have said the Young Turks audience powered AOC and the other Just Democrats to winning. There was 1,000 factors, but you guys were a giant part of it and people know it. So let's make this happen. If these guys win, every other Democrat in the House and in the Senate will be so scared. Like, yeah, I meant Green New Deal. I meant Medicare for all. Corporate PAC money. I don't want corporate PAC money. I don't want corporate PAC. So that's what we want. And they'll say, like, media will ask us, are you trying to intimidate them? Absolutely, yes. Yes, we are. Because they either work for the corporations or they work for the voters. And if the voters are intimidating them, you know what you call that? That's called democracy. All right, so let's go get it done right now.
Sounds good.
All
Exciting.
Right. And Alex is going to be on the program in the 3rd hour today.
Today?
Today, so
okay.
Make sure you stick around for that. That's super dynamic.
It's only a couple hours away, but if you're really desperate, I talked to him on the Damage Report a little ways back, so you can go take a look at that.
Wow, look at this guy always beating me to the punch. Okay, Damage Report. Young Turks members, you can watch that live and get it anytime you want. tyt.com/join. All right, John, what's up?
Okay, let's jump into the news. More on guns, obviously, considering the state of our country. If you had any hopes that the mass shootings over this weekend would put pressure on politicians to do something about gun control, well, Donald Trump is here to tamper down your expectations a little bit. For instance, on the topic of banning assault weapons, here is what he had to say.
Well, I can tell you that there is no political appetite for that at this moment. If you look at, you could speak, you could do your own polling, and there's no political appetite from it from the standpoint of legislature, but I will certainly bring that up. I'll bring that up as one of the points.
Yeah, we'll talk about it and we'll look into things, and there's probably not an appetite, but maybe. Donald Trump, back during the last campaign, was talked about as he's a different sort of Republican. He's not, dogmatic in the way that they are. He might be different on healthcare and war and things like that, but he's also a gigantic liar, and there is very, very much an appetite for this particular sort of gun control. Let's take a look at a poll that was tweeted out by Joanna Piacenza, who shows that 7 in 10 voters overall support an assault weapons ban. 54% of registered Republicans support an assault weapons ban.
Well, there's no appetite among the corrupt politicians that represent the Republican Party because they have an appetite for checks. Cold hard checks coming from the NRA and gun manufacturers. That's what they have an appetite for.
Yeah, 2/3 of Republican women are in support of it, but that doesn't even merit real consideration by the president.
Yeah. So look, in a democracy, 7 out of 10 Americans wanting something would be a layup. But if we had a democracy, you'll hear me say it for the 1,000th time, federal background checks poll at 97%. We don't have them. We don't have them. No, Mitch McConnell blocked it in the Senate. Now get a load of the flip-flops of Donald Trump on this one. He says, we're going to strongly consider it after this shooting, right? But wait a minute, I thought he said that after the Parkland shooting. Oh yeah, he did. And then he said, no, these politicians are scared of the NRA. Not me, not me. He went and talked to the NRA and said, okay, I'm really scared of them. Turns out they give me a lot of money and I'm corrupt, so I'm not gonna do a damn thing. So which one was it? Hey, if you're a MAGA supporter, did you like Donald Trump who said he was gonna do something strong about background checks? Or do you like the Donald Trump who did nothing about background checks? Make up your mind, which Donald Trump do you like? So you say, I'm offended that you call him a liar. But he said those two different things, so which Donald Trump do you like? You tell me. All right, then after this shooting, he goes, just strong, we're gonna be very strong. And then he said, the reporter's asking, well, I don't know if there's an appetite for it. Now he says there's not an appetite for the assault weapons ban. For the other one, he's like, I've been talking to them for 3 days, trying to discern if there's an appetite. I said discern, he would never say discern. Okay.
Yeah, we'll see. So we're gonna have that in a sec. But I want to combine this. He says no appetite for an assault weapons ban. So he's not going to consider, even though we know the polling's there. He supposedly cares a lot about polls and ratings. You would think that he would know this. But another Republican, Pat Toomey, was asked about this topic, and take a look at the way he responded to it.
My focus is on keeping guns out of the hands of people who should not have guns, people who have no legal right to a firearm. The guns that are described as assault weapons are almost invariably no more powerful than ordinary hunting rifles. They look different, they're painted black and they've got features that an ordinary hunting rifle doesn't have, but they're no more lethal. And
what about magazine size?
And they're extremely popular, and so to ban an extremely popular firearm, I'm not going to support that. That would be an infringement on the rights of law-abiding citizens.
That is amazing.
Wrong on 2 counts.
Amazing.
John, is it true that they're incredibly popular in the state of Pennsylvania where he's a senator?
I assume so, I don't know.
Yeah, so I looked it up. 68% would like to ban it in the state of Pennsylvania. Yeah. Ban it.
No, but that can't be because he said.
Right.
No, but here's the thing. So yes, obviously, the thing is they do sell, and whether they sell in Pennsylvania or not, they do sell, and the companies that sell them would like to keep selling them. They're popular in that respect. He's not saying let's not ban it because they're popular and I don't want to offend the sensibilities of those people. It's that he doesn't want to hurt the profits of the companies that are selling them.
Yeah, you know how many people in the state of Pennsylvania oppose a ban on assault weapons? Because he says it's a popular weapon, so I'm sure 90% oppose the ban, right? If it's that popular. Like food is popular, nobody wants to ban food, right? 27% oppose a ban.
Yeah.
Nah, not popular.
Also, I would throw
that's kind of the exact opposite of popular.
Yeah, not being shot, quite popular. I think in Pennsylvania too, actually.
Yeah,
but so, nationally at the very least.
But I just want to challenge the media here. So you guys think I'm rude when I say Pat Toomey's a liar, but I come at it with truth and facts. What do you come at it with? Political correctness? Well, it would be rude to accurately challenge Pat Toomey and say you're lying about your own state. 68% of people in Pennsylvania want to ban assault weapons.
Yeah.
So why are you lying about it? Or You just have it wrong. Can you please admit to us you're a bumbling fool and don't know your state at all? And that's at a minimum. The maximum is you know your state and you're a goddamn liar and you're doing it because you're corrupt and you're taking checks from the NRA. But which one is it, Pat Toomey? Because what it isn't is accurate.
Yeah.
But will the press do that? No, they'll say it's rude to tell the truth. Don't tell the truth, it'll be rude. It'll offend the senator from the honorable gentleman from Pennsylvania. Oh, I'm so sorry that I'm giving offense. So I found the shooting in El Paso and the shooting in Dayton to be slightly more offensive, to say the least.
Yeah, well, just get ready for tomorrow. Headline, New York Times, no appetite for assault weapons ban.
Yeah, no, it says Pat Toomey, hey, accurate.
Or says Trump in this particular case, yeah. So do you want to move on to his visit today?
No, I don't. I'm not done beating them up yet. Okay. I have two more things to say about it, one on Toomey and one on Trump. So Toomey also said, well, look, hey, Americans' rights, they got rights. So luckily, I found the Second Amendment for you guys. It wasn't hard, it's the second one. And so I'm gonna read it to you.
It's nice that they ordered them.
Yeah, it is, it is. And it's talked about a lot, except nobody ever reads it. So I don't know if this is gonna be considered rude to read the Constitution, but I'll do it for you. It says, a well-regulated militia. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. See, there's a qualifying part of that sentence that is never, ever, ever, ever mentioned and enormously important. So let me ask you this way. Does anyone think that the mass shooters were a well-regulated militia? Well, if you're being honest, every single person would answer, no, they were obviously not part of a well-regulated militia, and they were certainly not necessary to the security of a free state.
Yeah.
Given that, they clearly did not have Second Amendment rights. And by the way, if you're not part of a well-regulated militia being necessary for the security of a free state, you don't have Second Amendment rights either. Because the Second Amendment is about that. How do I know? I just read it. I just read it and you just heard it. But every single gun nut, right-winger conservative in the country will lie about the Second Amendment over and over. And it's kind of like those guys that are religious zealots too. They talk in circles. Well, Jesus could walk on water because water could receive Jesus, or Muhammad could see the fire from the burning bush and the thing, and so could Moses because the bush would burn only in front of Moses and Muhammad, right? So, well, I mean, since it says you have a right to bear arms because you're part of a well-regulated militia, but if you have guns, by definition, you're part of a militia because of a comma. What? No, plain English. You are not part of a well-regulated militia. You have no goddamn right to a gun. Oh my God, then how will I commit the massacres? Well, we'll have to sort that out later. But no, the Second Amendment does not say anything of the sort. If you don't trust me, go find the Constitution, find it online, find it in person, read it for yourself. And if you can speak English, first of all, if you can't leave the country, if you can speak English, here you are. I'm just using conservative logic.
Exactly.
All right, so there it is, read the whole goddamn thing.
It's so long.
So long, Trump will never make it through.
God.
Put a picture in there, maybe he'll read it. All right, now back to Trump.
Bullet points.
Yeah, well, back to Trump. So then he says, okay, look, I'm talking about very strongly over the last 3 days, talking about the federal background checks. Except here's the part you missed. You threatened a veto of federal background checks. The House has already passed it. Mitch McConnell will not allow it for a vote. And Donald Trump says it doesn't matter if Mitch McConnell allows a vote in the Senate because I will veto federal background checks. God damn it, which one is it? Which one is it? Are you supporting the Donald Trump who says he's super strong on federal background checks? Or the one that says he'll veto federal background checks? And if you think he knows what he's doing, like, oh, it's a strategy, he's playing both sides. No, moron of the highest order, or maybe the lowest order. Like he probably, if you had an honest conversation with him, you were his buddy or whatever, hey Donald, you know you're the one blocking federal background checks. He'd be like, oh, no way, man. I mean, yeah, that's right, no way, what? Total idiot, doesn't know anything.
What? And the frustrating thing is that for the Democrats, all that they need to campaign on, if they want to campaign against Trump and the Republicans and what they've done and not done, has been written for them. Every single thing, every serious threat against the American people, the Republicans are actively disarming the federal government against. So if it's election interference, they're stopping us from being protected. If it's your healthcare, they're trying to take it away from you. If it's climate change, they're making sure we don't do anything. If it's gun violence, they're making sure we don't have any reforms whatsoever. Like issue after issue after issue, they stand there to make sure that you are vulnerable to these threats, and that's it.
Hey, Democrats, I think they're so, look, you know what? Give like free membership or something, or just get anybody to watch the videos of the Young Turks that are actually politicians. I'm not kidding, okay? Because they don't know what they're doing at all. Why don't you do a press conference where you say federal background checks are ready to go? There's only 2 people blocking them, Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump. Okay, you say the rest of the massacres are not their fault. Okay, you find that controversial. I don't find it remotely controversial. But let's put out a marker. If they do not pass federal background checks, and you put out a giant poster, it's the biggest poster you've ever seen, that says 97% on it. 97% of Americans want this, and then put out a second giant poster of overwhelming majority of Republican voters that want it. Then put out a third giant check of the $50 million in bribes that the NRA gave to politicians, to the Republican Party in the last elections, or in 2016, right? And those are legalized bribes, campaign donations. Put out those 3 things and then say, if they don't pass it by the next massacre, can anyone really argue it isn't their fault? Okay, but no, the Democrats go, it's not that hard. It's not that hard. They're just not trying.
Yeah. We should probably take our first break. Lots more to get to after that.
Yes, and then we will get to him visiting and consoling the victims. Oh. That ought to go brilliantly. Wait till you hear what he wrote right after he visited the victims. We'll do that when we come back.
We need to talk about a relatively new show called the Republic, or UNFTR. As a Young Turks fan, you already know that the government, the media, and corporations are constantly peddling lies that serve the interests of the rich and powerful. But now there's a podcast dedicated to unraveling those lies, debunking the conventional wisdom. In each episode of the Republic, or UNFTR, the host delves into a different historical episode or topic that's generally misunderstood or purposely obfuscated by the so-called powers that be, featuring in-depth research, razor-sharp commentary, and just the right amount of vulgarity. The UNFTR podcast takes a sledgehammer to what you thought you knew about some of the nation's most sacred historical cows. But don't just take my word for it. The New York Times described UNFTR as consistently compelling and educational, aiming to challenge conventional wisdom and upend the historical narratives that were taught in school. For as the great philosopher Yoda once put it, you must unlearn what you have learned. And that's true whether you're in Jedi training or you're uprooting and exposing all the propaganda and disinformation you've been fed over the course of your lifetime. So search for UNFTR in your podcast app today and get ready to get informed, angered, and entertained all at the same time.
All right, back at the Young Turks. We're gonna go to comments as usual, members first as usual, tyt.com/join to become a member. Pork Chop Express says, John wore the damn shirt. That's the new I wrote the damn Bill Bernie shirt we got on at shoptyt.com. Lane says Agitprop is my favorite show on the network. Wow.
That was fast.
Yeah, out of the gate after the first episode, but it has gotten rave reviews.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so everybody check it out. If you're not already a member, now members can get the whole 2-hour show, tyt.com/agitprop, and check it out. And it was a 2-hour debate on capitalism between me and Hassan. I was on the side of capitalism, but it's way more complicated than that, but interesting, dare I say, intellectual debate.
On the internet?
So check it out. Even my dad liked it. He says, that was very, very good. Okay, I watched.
Something, the dial of ideas.
All right, Ronan 1 says, Nebraska is split into 2 electoral votes. Carr's district east is actually purple and went to Obama back in the day. Eastern Nebraska is where the largest cities are, by the way. Now, look, Ronan 1, I know that. But first of all, the corporate Democrats lost that seat anyway. Obama won it, but they're like, oh, I got a great idea. Let's do a Republican-like guy. They ran a guy, and they ran him against Carr Eastman in the primary. She beat him in the primary last time. who is anti-choice. He's the one that lost the Republican in the first place. He's anti-choice, and it's the genius idea of Nancy Pelosi to run him, okay? Now they're gonna waste a ton of money in a primary trying to run him again, even though Carb beat him the last time around.
Now,
anyway.
really, imagine if they took that money and started now, over a year in advance of the election, to support her, increase her name recognition. Could that be worth 2.5 points?
And that's what the complaint they always have when you run against incumbents. Oh, but you're wasting money in a primary. Well, aren't you wasting money in a primary against Cara?
Lock it up.
Yeah, they're such liars. Anyway, jdems.us/big news to support them. Nicholas Ward says Republicans, Nancy included, have an appetite for checks, not however for checks and balances. Ooh, I like that kind of talk. Viscous Cree says marijuana is extremely popular, still banned. No, don't worry. If Joe Biden wins, he's gonna move it from a Schedule 1 drug to a Schedule 2 drug.
Nice.
Whoa, I mean, 40 years from now, when it has 99.9% popularity, then maybe the Democrats, forget the Republicans, the Democrats might do something about it. Joe, very, very bold. 65% popular. In a democracy, you would win immediately. Zappa fan on Twitter, last one says, I like this one, effing Justice Democrats are awesome. Agreed. jdems.us/big news to donate to the biggest news. We make the biggest news to donate to the new candidates. All right, John, what's next?
Okay, a little bit more from today. Today, Donald Trump visited Dayton, Ohio to talk to some of the survivors of the mass shooting this weekend, their families, hospital staff, and his visit has received sort of mixed reviews. It's hard to know exactly what happened there because people seem to disagree. So speaking to reporters after his visit, Senator Sherrod Brown said Trump was comforting in his talks with patients in the hospital, but both he and the mayor of Dayton said they used their time with Trump to lobby him to push for an assault weapons ban and stronger background checks, among other measures. So there, they said that they try to push him for reforms and progress, which does not to me read as critical of the president, but he and his staff sure seem to take it that way. So what did Trump say?
So first of all, I watched the press conference. Sherrod Brown, exactly as you reported, John, I saw it with my own eyes. It was like, he even said, I respectfully told the president that what would help the police officers the most is banning assault weapons that sometimes are used against them, right? I respectfully told the president. So White House social media director Dan Scavino Jr. responds with lying and completely mischaracterizing what took place with the president's visit to the Miami Valley Hospital today. Lying about what? He didn't ask for an assault weapons ban? He wasn't respectful?
It's not a hospital?
Right, what do you, like they're so weirdly malicious. Look, the Democrats barely fight you as it is, right? And so, and even just politely asking for something, they're like, how dare you liars? Liars on what? So anyway, that's them. Now the president. So he does this thing, it actually goes relatively well. There's protesters, but as everybody reports, including the Democrats, well received at the hospital, which by the way is how it should be.
Yes.
He's coming to pay respects and he's coming to see the wounded, and he is the president of the United States of America. So overall it goes off pretty well, right? And by the way, the Democrats there, the Senator Sherrod Brown and the mayor should ask for, when he asks, what do you need? They should ask for ban assault weapons because that's what they believe. So everything goes just fine. Then you think Trump is going to be magnanimous afterwards? No. He says, I think my rhetoric brings people together. Come, really? All right, hold on. Then he goes, when asked about white supremacy from the reporters, he says, I don't like it, whether it's white supremacy, whether it's any other kind of supremacy. What other kinds of supremacy are there in America? Is that a thing? Like, is there a roving band of Asian supremacists in America?
It's ginger supremacists destroyed Dayton.
Is there?
No, there's one kind, really.
African Americans here are a minority. Latinos are a minority, okay? So I use this example, I know it's absurd kind of thing, but like, just so you can, like Turks in Germany are a minority. Talking about Turkish supremacy there would be bizarre and ridiculous. Turks in Turkey are the majority. You could talk about Turkish supremacy being a problem in Turkey against the Kurds, for example. You see that? It depends on the situation. But right wingers are not that bright. So they're like, oh yeah, so what? What about black supremacy? Black supremacy where? Where is it? Okay, I don't know what you're talking. Yeah.
And also, so he's asked not about like what's wrong with white people, some sort of generic question. He's asked to denounce white supremacists specifically. And if you're a Trump supporter, you don't think that he's a white supremacist, right? Fine. Then why does he feel a knee-jerk need to defend them, to obfuscate the issue? Why does he have to both sides it? If you agree that this thing that he's not, that you're not is bad, why can't he just say that? When the guy who shot up El Paso was a white supremacist, nobody disagrees with that. Why can't he just say it? Why does he and some in right-wing media, which we're gonna talk about a little bit later on, why do they feel like they have to defend these people?
So that's a great question because it never occurred to me to defend white supremacists or talking about how I'm against other kinds of supremacy, right, in this country, because there isn't any other kind of supremacy in this country, right? So it would never occur to me, but it would occur to you if you're a white supremacist, right? You would say, oh, hey, look, how about the blacks? They got so much power, right? No, not right. Anyway, one last thing. So then he sees Biden talking about the tragedy. Now, Biden criticized Trump, but mainly talking about the tragedy and the people who died and what could we do about it. You know what Trump tweets? So boring.
It's insane.
Oh, I'm sorry, was Biden boring you talking about the victims of a massacre? I mean, what kind of an unbelievably insensitive, maniacal child writes, so, and he did several of those, so boring. And then he followed that up with, the lamestream media will die in the ratings and clicks with this guy. We're talking about ratings as he's talking about massacres? This guy's-
Wait, you think that today's about the victims of a terror attack? It's about Trump.
It's about
What's wrong with you?
And who has better ratings, Trump or Biden? If you can't see the guy's a megalomaniac, there's something wrong with you. And then he continues, it will be over for them, not to mention the fact that our country will do poorly with him. It will be one big crash, but at least China will be happy. Okay, I'd like to note for the record that he said, basically almost in a parentheses, not to mention the fact that our country will do poorly with him. Like that's after he talked about the ratings. Like mainly the ratings will be bad.
Yeah.
But also I guess if you give a damn about the country also won't do well under Biden. And what are we talking about today? Oh, people who died, who cares? What are the ratings? Boring, Biden won't do well. Sleepy Joe, I got him, monster through and through. If you can't see it, you're an idiot.
So depressing.
Yeah.
Okay, why don't we move on to other news?
Okay.
There's other monsters to deal with in this country. White supremacy has had a pretty bad week with a lot of people finally seeming to take the threat it poses seriously and think that we need to finally do something about it. But Tucker Carlson is not one of those people.
But the whole thing is a lie. If you were to assemble a list, a hierarchy of concerns, of problems this country faces, where would white supremacy be on the list? Right up there with Russia, probably. It's actually not a real problem in America. The combined membership of every white supremacist organization in this country, would they be able to fit inside a college football stadium? I mean, seriously. This is a country where the average person is getting poorer, where the suicide rate is spiking. White supremacy, that's the problem. This is a hoax. Just like the Russia hoax, it's a conspiracy theory used to divide the country and keep a hold on power.
Okay, so look, it's a super serious story, but it's impossible not to start with Tucker's face. What is that face he does, and how come no producer has ever told him, dude, you look super weird?
I think early on people probably tried.
Yeah.
There's some things you can't change.
Yeah, you saw the beginning of the clip. Here, come to me, right? Yeah, or better yet, right there, go to him. I don't need to imitate it. What is that? Why does he do that? Because Tucker, you look super confused. And if you were, I'm trying to help you out. Like this does not look strong or anything. This looks like, I don't know what I'm about to say. I'm really gonna read that in the prompted? That seems ridiculous, really? Okay, fine. White supremacy is not a problem. So look, now onto the substance. Even if you were gonna make this case, which is a maniacal case, would you make it the week that a white supremacist murdered 22 people and injured dozens of others?
Maybe if your goal was to defend white supremacists and to protect their image and confuse people about it. Yeah, today would be the perfect time then.
Could you imagine if after a Muslim extremist massacred 22 people and injured so many others and did a manifesto about how Islam is the best, and we're going to dominate you guys. This was a strike against white people and Christians. If Ilhan Omar came out and said, Muslim extremism is overhyped, it's not a real problem in America, what do you think Tucker Carlson would do? What do you think?
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can't fill a football stadium with radical Islamic terrorists, can you? So by his definition, it's not a threat.
Yeah, are you kidding me? A football stadium? I mean, look, there's some dangerous extremists on all sides of the country. I'd be surprised if you could fill a room with Muslim extremists in the country. Now, the ones that are very dangerous, and so the law enforcement should be tracking all extremists of any race, religion, etc. But that's your standard? You can't fill look, white supremacist terrorists can't even fill a stadium with them. So 55,000 of them, not a big deal. I mean, how many massacres are we gonna go through? Look, obviously that's actually not the number one problem with his argument. I think it's obvious we're gonna get to the number one problem. But even if you take what he said at face value, it's preposterous on all grounds, right? Okay, now we're not taking it at face value because his definition of white supremacist is, well, the guy goes and he does cosplay or whatever, and he puts on the hood, and and he gets the burning cross, and that's the only ones he counts, right? Because a lot of the white supremacists, you go interview them, they use the N-word over and over again and say how black people are dumb and white people are smart and stuff. And I saw this with my own eyes. The reporter then asked him, this particular guy happened to be a wizard in the KKK. So they're like, so then obviously you're a racist. And he's like, no, I'm not. Okay, by Tucker's definition, he doesn't go in the football stadium because he said he's not a racist. So I guess he's not a white supremacist, even though he thinks all black people are idiots and all white people are geniuses and should rule over them. But he's not a racist, so he doesn't go in the football stadium. Still, they fill a football stadium. Okay, no, the problem, Tucker, is when you call immigrants dirty and you talk about them as an infestation. And yes, I'm about to refer to Nazi Germany. So, oh my God, you need a safe space? Do you need a safe space? The reason I'm referring to that is because that is how they started. They started calling the Jews an infestation, a virus, an invasion, and they said the Jews will not replace us. Guess what Tucker Carlson said on the air? The immigrants will not replace us, direct quote.
Yeah, I don't know, we always have to have this debate about Tucker Carlson. Oh, is he a white supremacist? Is he not? I tweeted a couple things to that effect this week, and people pushed back. He's on tape calling Iraqis semi-literate primitive monkeys. Didn't we just go through this with Reagan, where even his close family was like, yeah, that one's hard to deny.
Yeah, no, but the white supremacists who then say that there's no white supremacy think, yeah, John, he's not a white supremacist because the Iraqis are monkeys. You see what I'm saying? So they can't, it's like asking the fish, how's the water? And they go, what water?
Yeah.
Right? It's asking Tucker Carlson, how's the white supremacy? And he goes, what white supremacy?
Yeah.
Because he's surrounded by it. That's what he thinks. That's what is his base assumption. So he thinks, I'm not a white supremacist. I just think that Middle Easterners are monkeys, Latinos are dirty and are invading our country with an infestation. And blacks, don't get me started on the blacks, but white supremacy, what do you mean?
Yeah, what supremacy so? But really, I wanna be fair though. So really fast, I wanna be fair to the facts and then I'll be fair to Tucker Carlson. So fair to the facts, is it an issue? Well, earlier this year, FBI Director Christopher Wray told Congress that domestic terrorism is just as equal a threat as international terrorism. Wray said the Bureau had already handled 100 cases in the first 3 quarters of 2019. 100 seems like a lot. Won't fill a stadium or anything, but it would mess up your day, it'd mess up your town. That seems pretty serious. But I also want to be fair to Tucker Carlson. We're attacking him, all of us, but he has supporters, so let's get their perspective. On Twitter, I found this. This is from a Dr. David Duke, who said, Tucker is right. White supremacy is a Zio media conspiracy theory. The term itself is a lie. Millions of white activists are not supremacists. We seek not to oppress or destroy any race. Human rights for all, even for white people. Stop anti-white racism. I don't know that guy, but he's very enthusiastic about his cause.
By the way, in the midst of saying that he's not a white supremacist, he says Zio media, referring to Zionists, referring to the Jews.
Yeah. And David Duke also might be a white supremacist. But this support isn't new because previously that guy, who apparently is a doctor, had said, can't cuck the tuck, Tucker Carlson does it again. This is back during the confirmation hearings of Neil Gorsuch. And This other guy, he's got a big following. Richard Spencer had tweeted previously, Tucker has become a major public figure, not simply for his talents and good humor, but because he has raised the specter of nationalism, national disintegration, and anti-white hatred, often implicitly and increasingly explicitly. If you're not familiar with Richard Spencer, that's good because he's actually a Nazi. But he's a big fan of Tucker Carlson and has been for a long time.
And of course, if you've been living in a cave, David Duke was the Grand Wizard of the KKK.
I really hope that goes without saying.
Okay, and what did he say? I kind of liked it. You can't tuck the cuck?
Can't cuck the tuck.
No, I like can't tuck the cuck better.
I don't want to tuck anyone's, whatever.
All right. Look, last thing here. If you think Latino immigrants are dirty, you're a racist. So now people are gonna say, no way, man, have you seen them? Yes, you morons. If you traveled 2,000 miles under desperate situations, yes, you need a shower. That's not the point. But as human beings, as Homo sapiens, as fellow people, they are not more dirty than white people or people that live in this country.
Yeah.
And so when you, every group that has attacked a minority in the history of humanity has called them dirty and infestation, etc. You don't even have to go to the Nazis. You can, almost every group that's ever done it in humanity has said the others are dirty and are a problem and are gonna bring disease and we must protect ourselves from them. So if you use that kind of language, you are a racist. And you know who they used that against, by the way, in this country before? Italians. We got a story later in the show about how 11 Italians were lynched in America in the late 1800s because partly of the racism that we did against Italians back then. And guess what we called them? Dirty. And so now, no, the Italians are clean, the Irish are clean, everything's clean now, except the dirty Latinos. Yeah, if you say that, you might be a white supremacist. In fact, take the word might out.
Yeah. Take a break?
Yeah, all right, we'll be right back.
At TYT, we frequently talk about all the ways that big tech companies are taking control of our online lives, constantly monitoring us and storing and selling our data. But that doesn't mean we have to let them. It's possible to stay anonymous online and hide your data from the prying eyes of big tech. And one of the best ways is with ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN hides your IP address, making your activity more difficult to trace and sell to advertisers. ExpressVPN also encrypts 100% of your network data to protect you from eavesdroppers and cyber criminals. And it's also easy to install. A single mouse click protects all your devices. But listen guys, this is important. ExpressVPN is rated #1 by CNET and Wired magazine. So take back control of your life online and secure your data with a top VPN solution available, ExpressVPN. And if you go to expressvpn.com/TYT, you can get 3 extra months for free with this exclusive link just for TYT fans. That's expressvpn.com/TYT. Check it out today.
Back. We hope you're enjoying this free clip from the Young Turks. If you want to get the whole show and more exclusive content while supporting independent media, become a member at tyt.com/join today. In the meantime, enjoy this free segment. All right, back on the Young Turks. So look, I'm gonna start kind of serious with the comments, but there's so many good ones, serious and light. It'll get much lighter though. Beckdo71 says, Trump's rhetoric brings people together in the morgue. And unfortunately that is true, but pretty deep. All right, let's go to Eclectic Miscellanea. He says, the right is claiming video games are to blame for mass murders, but that white supremacy has nothing to do with mass shootings. There's a hoax going on here, but not in the way Tucker means it. Yeah, I mean, who in their right mind thinks, oh, video games, we gotta ban them. Guns, don't ban them. No, white supremacy, not a problem. Video games, a problem. Okay, if you're still on the right wing.
Power.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
All right, on Twitter, Steven Scale says, any other people of color having an influx of racists trying to explain to you what is and isn't racist? Great point, Steven, all the time, right? Now, IVCWP in the member section says, paying bills this week after signing up with NordVPN. I got several alert emails from the bill companies informing that someone had signed into my account from an unusual location. This is the point in the comment where I was like, uh-oh, is there something wrong with NordVPN? And he says, it was me paying bills from the comfort of my own home while also mysteriously being in another country. Being in 2 places at once is a superpower. Thanks, Nord and TYT. That is how it works. So that's why they can't tell who you are, because it seems like you're in a totally different URL in a different country. So nordvpn.com/TYT, and you too can have a superpower. Gabby Marina says, I could be a Spaniard supremacist, maybe. We believe in tapas, wine, and mandatory nap time. Who's in?
That sounds pretty good.
Yes, and then last one, this one's good. Swifty says, if Iadarola goes on Hassan's show, then he will be Ajit Pie.
I want some pie, okay?
That's pretty good. That's really good.
Did he tweet you? How did you have that ready to
go? That's really good. Nice job, Shrifty. Okay, tyt.com/join to become one of our clever members and participate in the show. All right, John, what's next?
Okay, a little bit more positive message. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has a message for young people who might be interested or perhaps already delving into white supremacy online.
What I have to say to the young men and increasingly some of the young women in this country that are falling into the grips of white supremacy, that find themselves getting radicalized in a funnel of vitriol towards Latinos, towards immigrants, towards African Americans, towards all people black, towards all people Jewish, towards all people of different faiths. What I have to say to you is come back. Because there is a mother waiting for you. I know it. I know there's a teacher waiting for you saying, what happened to my kid?
I mean, nails it on every issue. Now, I don't know, we talked about this on the damage report this morning. I don't know about, de-radicalizing people is incredibly difficult. Even if they're still young and they haven't been involved in it for very long, it is incredibly difficult. But she's doing more work in those comments than the people who are in power have done the entire time they've been in power.
Yeah, and she gets to do it too because she's not running for president. If, for example, Bernie Sanders had said the same thing, I think that there would have been a lot of nonsense.
Why is that?
Controversy, because they say, oh, what, are you trying to appeal to white supremacists? You know, the establishment, they would have found a reason to attack him, because anytime he says things along similar lines, like we could actually reform people, they're like, oh yeah, well, you're trying to appeal to them, right? So I know it's mental, but as you saw that powerful speech there, I'm glad somebody said it. And look, we have to do two different things, and it's a challenge. One is kick the living crap out of white supremacists and the right wing rhetorically and politically, okay, not physically. And so because they have these nonsense talking points, they've got their Tucker Carlson saying insane things, and we got to fight back against that. You got Trump saying crazy things, and it's burrowing into people's heads, and we have to fight back against that. And we have to be super aggressive doing it, especially at the Young Turks and people like AOC and Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, because the corporate Democrats aren't going to do it, and the rest of the media is milquetoast, right?
Yeah.
On the other hand, we also eventually have to reach out to them and bring them back. So it's bold at this moment for AOC to say, remember, we're also going to do the second part.
Yeah.
Look, so people ask me sometimes, hey, when are you going to stop beating up on Republicans? Now, I'd love to say never, right? But after we win, yes, there is a moment like where you reach out and you go, hey, listen, you knuckleheads, we were trying to raise your wages the whole time.
Yeah.
We were, and I'm saying now broadly to Republicans and the right wing conservatives, right? We were actually trying to make sure that we don't have a corrupt government, so you could elect really conservative congressmen if you want, but at least it's an honest game. We were trying to get you health care so your kid doesn't die. And so now we're gonna prove it to you, right? So there's 1,000 different ways to reach out. And this show, honestly, because I've seen it with my own eyes, dozens of people have told me in person, we've showed you some of them, I've interviewed some of the people, have said, yeah, I remember the young woman in New York told me I was a racist until I started watching the show, and you guys flipped me. A guy talking about recently, some of you might have seen it, was really powerful in Miami, how he grew up in a family that he thought was basically white supremacist, and he was in that direction in that camp, and he came out of it, etc. We had a Muslim extremist that Reuters wrote about that was in Germany, thinking of joining ISIS, young kid, watched the Young Turks, realized it turns out he was gay, and he's like, I realized, no, God doesn't hate me, it's okay, and he stopped being an extremist and didn't join ISIS. Yes.
I had never heard of that before.
So look, we're de-radicalizing people. The New York Times wrote this giant story about a guy who had gotten radicalized on YouTube by the right wing and then became de-radicalized. He came on Jimmy Dore's show, our show, and said, yeah, it was you guys. Now, other left-wingers as well, and he originally came in with one other YouTube channel, I think ContraPoints, I believe. And then he said, yeah, I definitely watched you guys and you helped de-radicalize me. New York Times, of course, didn't mention that. That's a whole nother story, who cares? Right now, so what we do is sometimes they come to hate watch us, and then they're like, well, that's inconveniently true, but I'm sure they're wrong about everything else. That's a fact, but I'm sure they're wrong about everything else, right? Et cetera, et cetera. So my point to you is, there's a reason why I'm an optimist. If you watch the show, I'm a huge, huge optimist, right? We are gonna win these people over because we are right. Are we gonna win all of them over? Of course not, of course not. But you have to remember, we have to break through their bubble first. Most of them have never even heard anything else. The kid who was radicalized on YouTube said, I was in a bubble. I wasn't seeing any progressive videos. I didn't see anything progressive on television. All I saw was the right wingers. That's why they convinced me, because it was only one side, right? If you watch Fox News, those guys almost only watch Fox News. So if we can break through their bubble, we can actually win back some people. And then if they are truly won back, of course with open arms, because we're progressives, we're the good guys. We don't hate people for who they are. And if you've got the wrong ideology, we try to convince you otherwise and bring you over to the light. So again, AOC showing real leadership, courage, and leading the way.
Yeah, it's going to be a titanic struggle, but she's getting in young and with the actual will to do something about it.
Absolutely. What's next?
I mean, that's really up to you. We have a right-wing grifter, and we have executive power.
I know, executive power is really important, but the right-wing grifter is too funny. We got to do that one.
Okay, executive power is important. Okay, right-wing grifter. Okay, clip that one out. Anyway, another right-wing grifter has had his day in court, and it did not go very well for him. This is John Lambert, 23-year-old from Knoxville, Tennessee, who went by the name of Eric Pope in a swindle. He set up a fake law firm called Pope & Dunn between 2016 and 2018. He claimed he was an NYU law school graduate with a finance degree from the University of Pennsylvania with a decade and a half of corporate and patent law experience, which would be tough because he's 23. Been working for 15 years, basically Doogie Howser, but for tax stuff. So look, he swindled at least 6 individual and corporate victims who paid him for legal advice and services on a wide range of subjects. He pleaded guilty to wire fraud conspiracy. Under his plea deal with prosecutors, he will not appeal a sentence that is 21 months or less, and he's agreed to forfeit $46,000 and slightly more dollars, which is about what he took from those individuals. Now, why is this person interesting? Why do we refer to them as a right-wing grifter? That's because this person made a name for themselves in another area. That was during the last presidential campaign where Lambert set up Students for Trump with his classmate Ryan Fournier in 2015. They made headlines with their frequent media appearances. Their Twitter account featured images of them and bikini-clad women in MAGA hats at political events. And even was invited on to right-wing media, including Fox News a number of different times. But was just a big fraud the entire time, defrauding people of tens of thousands of dollars.
Well, I do want to argue with you though on the word "but." So if you're a grifter, your idol would logically be Donald Trump. So you would be Students for Trump. That makes perfect sense. He's a legendary con artist, the only thing he's ever been good at. So if you were pretending that you went to University of Pennsylvania on your own merits, Donald Trump would be your idol, okay? If you were pretending to be an expert on something you're not an expert on, Donald Trump would be your idol. Remember that clip we ran of him saying like 28 different things? No one knows this better than me, right? It's like no one knows wind better than me, no one knows construction better than me, and it went on and on.
Weapons, missile technology.
That's right. So if you're this kid and you're like, and if you're a brazen liar, like, oh, I've had a decade and a half experience after graduating from undergrad at Penn and NYU Law School, and I should be 48, but I'm 23. Well, Trump would be your idol. That's exactly the kind of lie Trump would tell, right? Yeah. So to be fair to the kid, she should go to jail. But Students for Trump makes sense.
Yeah.
And maybe you could also go to Trump University and collect those students that were for Trump, and then against Trump when they realized he'd robbed them of all their money.
Yeah, another similarity with his idol there. Now, I want to sort of put a bow on this before saying one more thing. Students for Trump say that Lambert left the group after the election and fully condemns his actions. But bear in mind that Students for Trump, which was set up by these two individuals, at least one he's already gone down as a big fraud. The other one probably at some point. Is now transferred ownership of its resources to a different youth conservative organization. It's totally not grifters in any way. The Students for Trump website indicated it was acquired last month by Turning Point Action, a subsidiary of Turning Points USA. So now they're under new management, everyone, don't worry.
Now they get to live like a capitalist every day.
Yeah, and the thing I wanna say is like, these people who would, to the extent that any of these youth organizations have actual membership, the people who would join this sort of thing, it's money laundering by conservative billionaires to give a facade that there's young people who like Republican ideas. But anyone who would join this, you spend 75% of your waking days hating libs, like trying to trigger libs, feeling like the libs are lying to you, conspiracy theories about libs. Do you get that all of your idols are ripping you off? That Students for Trump is a big ripoff. The Turning Points USA is a big ripoff. Jacob Wohl is a big ripoff. Project Veritas, they're all lying to you to take your money. They're not libs, they're not communists, they're not DSA, they're not socialists. The call is coming from inside the house and it's in your wallet too.
Well, look, to be fair, I was a Republican when I was a student in college. But you know what was the difference? I realized that it was a scam. I started looking around and I started looking at facts and I was like, well, how come they never balance the budget? I mean, I remember all the speakers were talking about balancing the budget. How come they never do that?
They're still saying that.
I know, after all these decades since I've been in school, they're still talking about balancing the budget. What name so? When are you guys gonna get to it, right? They're like peace through strength. I'm like, I think we're really getting kind of war through not strength. I mean, I don't know about the strength part, but we definitely don't have peace, right? And on and on. Every part of it is a scam. And the biggest scam of all of this is in service of tax cuts for the rich.
Yeah.
So why do you think the billionaires are giving Turning Point USA all that money? Do you know that they pay conservative speakers on college campuses tens of thousands of dollars? Not the colleges, the billionaires do. Why do you think they put that kind of investment in? Because they're trying to trick you into voting Republican so that they'll get their tax cuts. That's the long con. That's the big con. And so you're participating. Look, if you're rich and you think, oh, no, my daddy's also gonna get the tax cut. I get it. I don't agree with you. I think you should be a moral and decent person, but at least I understand it. If you're not incredibly wealthy, you know that old saying about poker, if you can't tell who the sucker at the table is, it's you. Look around, son, look around, it's you.
Yeah, but hopefully not you. You seem cool.
Yeah, maybe if you're a MAGA guy in college campuses. All right, listen, we gotta take a commercial break because we live like a capitalist every day, Cenk. By the way, John got agit pie like 3 minutes later.
Yeah, I have not thought about agit pie in a long time. I was like, is that a kind of pie? I don't know. I thought I knew them all. And then I was like,
All right. Brooke and Francis, when we return, and is Mexico going to do something about it? You know, actually 8 of their citizens were killed. So are they gonna sue the United States? Are they gonna ask for the shooter to try him in Mexico? That's super interesting, okay? We'll be right back.
What do? I get dirty every single year.
Thanks for listening to the full episode of the Young Turks. Support our work, listen ad-free, access members-only bonus content, and more by subscribing to Apple Podcasts at apple.co/TYT. I'm your host, Cenk Uygur, and I'll see you soon.